Sai Ram, Chapter 8 Importance of Human Birth, Sai Baba Begging Food, Baijibai Service, Sai Baba's Dormitory, His Affection for Kusal Chand. As hinted in the last chapter, Hemant Pant now explains at length in his preliminary remarks the importance of human birth and then proceeds to relate how Sai Baba begged his food, how Baijibai served him, how he slept in the masjid with Tatya Kote Patel and Marsapati, and how he loved Kusal Chand of Rahta. Importance of human birth. In this wonderful universe, God has created millions, that is 84 lakhs according to the Hindu Shastra calculation, of creatures including gods, demigods, insects, beasts and men inhabiting heaven, hell, earth, ocean, sky and other intermediate regions. Of these, those creatures or souls whose merits preponderate go to heaven and live there till they enjoy the fruits of their actions, and when this is done, they are cast down, while those souls whose sins or demerits preponderate go down to hell and suffer the consequences of their misdeeds for as long as they deserve it. When their merits and demerits balance each other, they are born on earth as human beings and are given a chance to work out their salvation. Ultimately, when their merits and demerits both are worked out completely, they get their deliverance and become free. To put the matter in a nutshell, souls get their birth or transfiguration according to their deeds and evolvement. Special value of the human body. As we all know, four things are common to all the creatures, that is, food, sleep, fear and sexual union. In the case of man, he is endowed with special faculty, that is knowledge, with the help of which he can attain God vision, which is impossible in any other species. It is for this reason that gods envy the human species and aspire to be born as men on earth so as to get their final deliverance. Some say that there is nothing worse than the human body, which is full of filth, mucus, phlegm and dirt, and which is subject to decay, disease and death. This is true to a certain extent, but in spite of these drawbacks and defects, the special value of the human body is that man has got the capacity to acquire knowledge. It is only due to the human body or on account of it that one can think of the perishable and transitory nature of the body itself and of the world, and have aversion for sense enjoyments, and can discriminate between the unreal and the real, and thus attain God vision. So, if we reject or neglect the body because it is filthy, we lose the chance of God vision, and if we indulge it and run after sense enjoyments because it is precious, we go to hell. The proper course, therefore, for us to pursue is the following: that the body should neither be neglected nor fondled, but should be properly cared for, just as a traveller on horseback takes care of his horse on the way till he reaches his destination and returns home. Thus the body should ever be used or engaged to attain God vision or self-realization, which is the supreme end of life. It is said that though God created various kinds of creatures, He was not satisfied, for none of them was able to know and appreciate His work. So, He had to create a special being, man, and endow him with a special faculty, that is knowledge. And when He saw that the man was able to appreciate His Leela, marvelous work and intelligence, He was highly pleased and satisfied. So really it is fortunate to get a human body, better still to be born in a Brahmin family, and best to get an opportunity of being close to Sai Baba's feet and surrendering to Him. Man's endeavor. Realizing how precious human life is, and knowing that death is certain and may snatch us at any time, we should be ever alert to achieve the object of our lives. We should not make the least delay, but make every possible haste to gain our object. Just as a king leaves no stone unturned to seek his lost son, so with all earnestness we should strive to attain our end, that is self-realization. Casting aside laziness, warding off drowsiness, we should day and night meditate on the self. If we fail to do this, we reduce ourselves to the level of peace. How to proceed? The most effective and speedy way to gain our object is to approach a worthy saint or sage, Sadguru, who has himself attained God vision. What cannot be achieved by hearing religious discourses and study of religious texts is easily obtained in the company of such worthy souls. Just as the sun only gives light which all the stars put together cannot do, so the Sadguru alone imparts spiritual wisdom which all the sacred books and sermons cannot do. His moments and simple talks give us silent advice. The virtues of forgiveness, calmness, disinterestedness, charity, benevolence, control of mind and body, egolessness, etc. are observed by the disciples as they are being practiced in such pure and holy company. This enlightens their minds and lifts them up spiritually. Sai Baba was such a sage or Sadguru. Though he acted as a fakir, he was always engrossed in self. He always loved all beings in whom he saw God or divinity. By pleasures he was not elated. He was not depressed by misfortunes. A king and a pauper were the same to him. He who glanced would turn a beggar into a king used to go begging food from door to door in Shirdi, and let us now see how he did it. Baba begging food. Blessed are the people of Shirdi, in front of whose houses Baba stood as a beggar and called out, "Oh my, give me a piece of bread," and spread out his hand to receive the same. In one hand he carried a tumbrel, tin pot, and in the other a joli or chaptadi, that is a rectangular piece of cloth. He visited certain houses daily. Liquid or semi-liquid things such as soup, vegetables, milk or buttermilk were received in the tin pot, while cooked rice, bread and such solid things were taken in the joli. Baba's tongue knew no taste, as he had acquired control over it. So how could he care for the taste of different things mixed up together? Whatever things he got in his joli and in the tin pot were mixed together and partaken by Baba to his heart's content. Whether particular things were tasty or otherwise was never noticed by Baba, as his tongue was devoid of the sense of taste altogether. Baba begged till noon, but his begging was very irregular. Some days he went a few rounds and other days up to 12 noon. The food thus collected was kept in kundi, that is earthen pot. Dogs, cats and crows freely ate from it and Baba never drove them away. The woman who swept the floor of the masjid took some 10 to 12 pieces of bread to her house and nobody prevented her from doing so. How could he, who even in dreams never warded off cats and dogs by harsh words and signs, refuse food to poor helpless people? Blessed indeed is the life of such a noble person. People in Shirdi took him in the beginning for a mad fakir. He was known in the village by this name. How could one who lived on alms by begging a few crumbs of bread be revered and worshipped? But this fakir was very liberal of heart, detached and charitable. Though he looked restless from outside, he was firm and steady inside. His way was inscrutable. Still, in that small village, there were a few kind and blessed people who recognized and regarded him as a great soul. One such person's account is given below. Bayajibai's brilliant service. Tatya Kote's mother Bayajibai used to go to the woods every afternoon with a basket on her head containing bread and vegetables. She roamed in the jungles about 3 miles after kilometers, trampling bushes and shrubs in search of the mad fakir, and after finding him fell at his feet. The fakir sat calm and motionless in meditation while she placed a leaf before him, spread her things, eatables, bread, vegetables, etc. thereon and fed him. Wonderful was her faith and service. Every day she roamed at noon in the jungles and insisted upon Baba to partake of the lunch. Her service, upasana or penance, by whatever name we call it, was never forgotten by Baba till the end. Remembering fully what service she rendered, Baba benefited her son significantly. Both the son and the mother had great faith in the fakir, who was their god. Baba often said to them that fakiri is real, lordship is transient. After some years, Baba stopped going to the woods and began to live in the village and take his food in the masjid. Thus, Bayajibai's troubles of roaming in the jungles ended. Dormitory of Trio. Ever blessed are the saints in whose heart Lord Vasudeva dwells, and fortunate indeed are the devotees who get the benefit of the company of such saints. Two such fortunate fellows, Tatya Kote Patel and Bharat Masapati, equally shared the company of Sai Baba. Baba also loved them both. These three persons slept in the masjid with their heads towards the east, west, and north, and with their feet touching one another's at the center. After spreading their beds, they lay on them chit-chatting and gossiping till late at night. If any one of them showed any signs of sleep, others would wake him up. For instance, if Tatya began to snore, Baba at once got up and shook him from side to side and pressed his head. If it was Mahesapati, he pulled him close, stroked his legs and patted his back. In this way, for a period of 14 years, Tatya, leaving his parents at home, slept in the masjid, an account of his deep love for Baba. How happy and never to be forgotten were those days. How to measure that love and how to value the grace of Baba. After the passing away of his father, Tatya took charge of the household affairs and began to sleep at home. Kusal Chand of Rahata. Baba loved Ganapat Kote Patel of Shirdi. He loved Chandrabanshet Marwadi of Rahata equally. After the demise of his state, Baba loved his nephew Kushal Chand equally or perhaps more, and looked after his welfare day and night. Sometimes in a bullock cart, at other times in a tonga, with intimate devotees, Baba went to Rahata. People of that village would come out with a band and music and receive Baba at the gate of the village and prostrate before him. Then he was taken into the village with great honor and ceremony. Kusal Chand took Baba to his house, seated him on a comfortable seat, and gave him a good meal. Then they talked freely and merrily for some time, after which Baba returned to Shirdi, giving delight and blessings to all. Shirdi is midway and equidistant from Rahata on one side and Nimgam on the other. Baba never went beyond these places during his lifetime. He never saw any train or travelled by it, still he knew exactly the timings of arrivals and departures of all trains. Devotees who acted according to Baba's instructions given at the time of taking his leave fared well, while those who disregarded them suffered many a mishap and accident. More about this and other matters will be told in the next chapter. Bow to Shri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram. Chapter 9. Effect of compliance and non-compliance with Baba's orders at the time of taking leave. A few instances. Mendicancy and its necessity. Devotees, Tharkat's family experiences. Baba fed sumptuously. At the end of the last chapter, it was briefly stated that the bhaktas who obeyed Baba's order at the time of taking leave fared well, and those who disobeyed them suffered many a mishap. This statement will be amplified and illustrated with a few striking instances and by other matters dealt with in this chapter. Characteristic of Shirdi pilgrimage. One special peculiarity of Shirdi pilgrimage was that none could leave Shirdi without Baba's permission, and if he did, he invited troubles. But if anyone was asked to quit Shirdi, he could stay there no longer. Baba gave certain suggestions or hints when devotees went to bid goodbye and take leave. These suggestions had to be followed. If they were not followed or were departed from, accidents were sure to befall them. We give below a few instances. Tatya Kote Patil. Tatya Kote was once going in a tonga to Kopargam Bazaar. He came in haste to the masjid, saluted Baba and said that he would go to Kopargam Bazaar. Baba said, "Don't make haste, stop a little, forget the bazaar, don't go out of the village." On seeing his anxiousness to go, Baba asked him to take Shama, that's Madhavra Deshpande, with him. Not minding this direction, Tatya Kote immediately drove off his tonga. One of the two horses, one which cost rupees 300, were very active and restless. After passing Sauli Vihar, it began to run rashly, got a sprain in its waist and fell down. Satya was not much hurt but was reminded of Mother Sai's direction. On another occasion, while proceeding to Kolhad village, he disregarded Baba's direction and drove in a tonga which met with a similar accident. European gentleman. One European gentleman of Mumbai once came to Shirdi with an introductory note from Nana Sahib Chandorkar with some object in view. He was comfortably accommodated in a tent. He wanted to kneel before Baba and kiss his hand. Therefore, he tried twice to step into the masjid, but Baba prevented him from doing so. He was asked to sit in the open courtyard below and take Baba's darshan from there. Not pleased with the reception he got, he wanted to leave Shirdi at once and came to bid goodbye. Baba asked him to go the next day and not to hurry. People also requested him to abide by Baba's instructions. Not listening to all this, he left Shirdi in a tonga. The horses ran all right, but when Sauli Vihar was passed, a bicycle came in front, on seeing which the horses were frightened and ran fast. The tonga turned topsy-turvy and the gentleman fell down and was dragged over some distance. He was immediately rescued but had to go and lie in Kopargam hospital for the treatment of his injuries. Such experiences were legion and people learned the lesson that those who disobeyed Baba's instructions met with accidents in one way or the other, and those who obeyed them were safe and happy. The necessity of mendicancy. Now to return to the question of mendicancy. A question may arise in the minds of some that if Baba was such a great personage, God manifest, why should he have taken recourse to begging bowl throughout his life? This question may be considered and replied from two standpoints. Who are the people who have a right to live by begging bowl? Our Shastra says that those persons who after getting rid of or becoming free from the three main desires, that is for progeny, for wealth, for fame and accept sannyas, are the fit persons to live by begging alms. They cannot make cooking arrangements and dine at their home. The duty of feeding them is laid on the shoulders of householders. Sai Baba was neither a householder nor vanaprastha. He was celibate sannyasi from boyhood. His firm conviction was that the universe was his home. He was the Lord Vasudeva, the supporter of the universe and the imperishable Brahma. So, he had full right to take recourse to begging. Now, from the standpoint of Panchasuna, 5 sins and their atonement, we all know that in order to prepare foodstuffs and meals, the householders have to go through 5 actions or processes. That is, Khandani, pounding, Peshni, grinding, Udakumbi, washing pots, Bharchani, sweeping and cleaning, Chuli, lighting hearths. These processes involve destruction of a lot of small insects and creatures, and thus the householders incur sin. In order to atone for his sins, our Shastras prescribe 6 kinds of sacrifices, that is, Brahma, Yajna, Veda Dhyan, offerings to Brahma or the study of the Vedas, Pitri Yajna, offering to the ancestors, Deva Yajna, offerings to the gods, Bhuta Yajna, offerings to the beings, Manushya Atiti Yajna, offerings to men or uninvited guests. If these sacrifices enjoined by the Shastras are duly performed, the purification of the minds is effected, and this helps them to get knowledge and self-realization. Baba, in going from house to house, reminded the inmates of their sacred duty, and fortunate were the people who got the lesson at their homes from Baba. Devotees' experiences. Now to return to the other more interesting subject, Lord Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, "Whosoever devotedly offers to me a leaf, a flower, or a fruit or water, of that pure-hearted man, I accept the pious offering." In the case of Sai Baba, if a devotee intended really to offer anything to Sai Baba, and if he afterwards forgot to offer the same, Baba reminded him or his friend about the offering and made him bring it to him and then accepted it and blessed the devotee. A few instances are given below. Tharkat family, father and son. Mr. Ramchandra Atmaram alias Baba Saheb Tharkat, formerly a Pradhana Samajist, was a staunch devotee of Sai Baba. His wife and son loved Baba equally or perhaps more. It was once proposed that Master Tharkat should go with his mother to Shirdi and spend his summer vacation there, but the son was unwilling to go as he thought that in case he left his home in Bandra, the worship of Sai Baba in the house would not be properly attended to as his father, being a Pradhana Samajist, would not care to worship Sai Baba's picture. However, on his father's giving an assurance under oath that he would perform the worship exactly as his son was doing, the mother and the son left for Shirdi on a Friday night. Next day, that is Saturday, Mr. Tharkat got up early, took his bath, and before proceeding with the puja, prostrated himself before the shrine and said, Baba, I am going to perform the puja exactly as my son has been doing, but please let it not be a formal drill. Saying so, he performed the puja and offered a few pieces of lump sugar as Naivedya. The sugar was distributed at lunch time. That evening and next day Sunday, everything went on well. The following Monday was a working day, and it also passed well. Mr. Tharkar, who had never performed puja like this in all his life, felt great and confidence within himself that everything was passing on quite satisfactorily as per the promise given to the son. Next Tuesday, he performed the morning puja as usual and left for his work. Coming home at noon, he found that there was no prasad sugar to partake of when the meal was served. He asked the servant cook, who told him that there was no offering made that morning and that he had completely forgotten to perform that part of the puja, that is offering Naivedya. At this, he left his seat and prostrated himself before the shrine, expressed his regret at the same time, chiding Baba for the want of guidance in making the whole affair a matter of mere drill. Then he wrote a letter to his son, stating the facts and requested him to lay it at Baba's feet and ask his pardon for his neglect. This happened in Bandra at about Tuesday noon. At about the same time when the noon aarti was about to commence in Shirdi, Baba said to Mrs. Tharkat, Mother, I had been to your house in Bandra with a view to have something to eat. I found the door locked. I somehow got an entry and found to my regret that thou, Mr. Tharkat, had left nothing to eat for me. So I have returned with my hunger unappeased. The lady did not understand this, but the son, who was close by, understood the whole thing, that there was something wrong with the puja in Bandra, and he therefore requested Baba to permit him to go home. Baba refused this, but allowed him to perform puja there. Then the son wrote a letter to his father stating all that took place at Shirdi and implored his father not to neglect the puja at home. Both these letters crossed each other and were delivered to the respective parties the next day. Is this not wonderful? Mrs. Tharkat. Let us now take up the case of Mrs. Tharkat herself. She offered three things, that is, Bharat roasted brinjal mixed with curds and spice, Kacharia circular pieces of brinjal fried in ghee, Pheda sweet peat ball. Let us see how Baba accepted these. Once Mr. Raghuveer Bhaskar Purandre of Bhandra, a great devotee of Baba, started for Shirdi with family. Mrs. Tharkar went to Mrs. Purandre and gave her 2 brinjals and requested her to prepare bharit for 1 brinjal and kachari of the other when she went to Shirdi and served Baba with them. After reaching Shirdi, Mrs. Purandre went with her dish of bharit to the masjid when Baba was just sitting for meals. Baba found the bharit very tasty, so he distributed it to all and said that he wanted kachariya now. A word was sent to Radha Krishna Mai that Baba wanted kachariya. She was in a fix, as of those was season for brinjals. How to get brinjals was the question. When inquiry was made as to who brought the bharat, it was found that Mrs. Purandre was entrusted with the duty of serving kachariya. Everybody then came to know the significance of Baba's inquiry regarding kachariya and was wonderstruck at Baba's all pervasive knowledge. In December 1915, one Govind Balram Mankar wanted to go to Shirdi to perform the obsequies of his father. Before he left, he came to see Mr. Tharkar. Then Mrs. Tharkar wanted to send something with him to Baba. She searched the whole house but found nothing except a peda which had already been offered as Naivedya. The boy Govind was in mourning. Out of great devotion to Baba, she sent the peda with him, hoping that Baba would accept and eat it. Govind went to Shirdi and saw Baba but forgot to take the peda with him. Baba simply waited. When again he went to Baba in the afternoon, he went empty-handed without the peda. Baba could wait no longer and did ask him straight, "What did you bring for me?" Nothing was the reply. Baba asked him again. The same reply came forth again. Then Baba asked him the question, "Did not the mother, Mrs. Tharkett, give some sweetmeat to you for me at the time of your starting?" The boy then remembered the whole thing. He felt abashed, asked Baba's pardon, ran to his lodging, brought the peda and gave it to Baba. As soon as Baba got it in his hand, he put it into his mouth and gulped it down. Thus the devotion of Mrs. Tharkett was recognized and accepted. As men believe in me, so do I accept them, was proved in this case. Baba fed sumptuously how. Once Mrs. Tharkett was staying in certain house in Shirdi. At noon meals were ready and being served when a hungry dog turned up there and began to bark. Mrs. Tharkett got up once and threw a piece of bread which the dog gulped with great relish. In the afternoon when she went to the masjid and sat at some distance, Sai Baba said to her, "Mother, you have fed me sumptuously. My famished pranas, life forces, have been satisfied. Ever act like this, and this will stand you in a good stead. Sitting in the masjid, I shall never speak untruth. Take pity on me like this. First give bread to the hungry and then eat yourself. Note this well." She could not understand at first the meaning of what Baba said, so she replied, "Baba, how could I feed you? I am myself dependent on others and take my food from them on payment." Then Baba replied, "Eating that lovely bread, I am heartily contented and I am still belching. The dog which you saw before meals and to which you gave the piece of bread is one with me, so also other creatures, cats, pigs, flies, cows, etc. are one with me. I am roaming in their forms. He who sees me in all these creatures is my beloved. So abandon the sense of duality and distinction and serve me as you did today." Drinking this nectar-like words, she was moved. Her eyes were brimmed with tears, her throat was choked, and her joy knew no bounds. Moral: see God in all beings is the moral of this chapter. The Upanishads, the Gita, and the Bhagavad all exhort us to perceive God or divinity in all the creatures. By the instance given at the end of this chapter, and other numerous to mention, Sai Baba has practically demonstrated to us how to put the Upanishadic teachings into practice. In this way, Sai Baba stands as the best exponent or teacher of the Upanishadic doctrines. Vow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram. Chapter 10. Sai Baba's mode of life, his sleeping plant, his stay in Shirdi, his teachings, his humility, Nanavali, the easiest path. Remember him always with love, for he was ever engrossed in doing good to all, and always abided in his self. To remember him only is to solve the riddle of life and death. This is the best and easiest sadhanas, as it involves no expenditure. A little exertion here brings great rewards. So as long as our senses are sound, we should minute by minute practice this sadhana. All other gods are illusory. Guru is the only God. If we believe in Sadguru's holy feet, he can change our fortune for the better. If we serve him sincerely, we get rid of our worldly afflictions. We need not study any philosophy like the Nyaya and the Mimamsa. As we trust the helmsman in crossing rivers and seas, so we have to trust our Sadguru in getting over the ocean of worldly existence. The Sadguru looks to the intense feeling and devotion of his devotees and endows them with knowledge and eternal bliss. In the last chapter, Baba's mendicancy and devotees' experiences and other subjects are dealt with. Let the readers now read where and how Baba lived, how he slept and how he taught, etc. Baba's wonderful bedstead. Let us first see where and how Baba slept. Mr. Nana Sahib Regle brought for Sai Baba a wooden plank about 4 arms in length and only a span in breadth for sleeping upon. Instead of keeping the plank on the floor and then sleeping on it, Baba tied it like a swing to the rafters of the masjid with old shreds or rags and commenced to sleep upon it. The rags were so thin and worn out that it was a wonder how they could bear or support the weight of the plank itself, let alone the weight of Baba. But somehow or other it was Baba's sheer Leela that the worn-out rags did sustain the plank along with the weight of Baba on it. On the 4 corners of this plank, Baba lightened panatis, that is the earthen lamps, one at each corner, and kept them burning the whole night. It was a sight for the gods to see Baba sitting or sleeping on this plank. It was a wonder to all. Out of curiosity, many observers kept watching the process of mounting and dismounting, but none succeeded. As crowds began to swell so as to detect this wonderful feat, Baba one day broke the plank into pieces and threw it away. Baba had all the 8 Mahasiddhis, the powers, at his command. He neither practiced nor carved for them. They came to him naturally as a result of his spiritual perfection. Manifestation of Brahma. Though Sai Baba looked like a man, 3 cubits and a half in length, still he dwelt in the hearts of all. Inwardly he was unattached and indifferent, but outwardly he longed for mass welfare. Though inwardly an adobe of peace, he looked outwardly restless. Inwardly he had the state of Brahma, outwardly he seemed engrossed in the world. Sometimes he looked on all with affection, and at times he threw stones at them. Sometimes he scolded them, while at times he embraced them and was calm, composed, tolerant, and well balanced. He always obeyed and was engrossed in the self, and was well disposed towards his bhaktas. He always sat on one asana and never travelled. His satka was a small stick, which he always carried in his hand. He was calm and thought-free. He never cared for wealth and fame and lived on alms. Such a life he led. He always uttered Allah Malik, God is the real owner. Entire and unbroken was his love for the bhaktas. He was the mind or storehouse for self-knowledge and full of divine bliss. He was the divine form of Sai Baba, boundless, endless, and undifferentiated. One principle which envelops the whole universe, from a stone to Brahma, incarnated in Sai Baba. The really meritorious and fortunate people get this treasure grove in their hands, while those people who, not knowing the real worth of Sai Baba, took him to be a mere human being, were indeed unfortunate. His stay in Shirdi and probable birthday. None knew or knows the parents and the exact date of birth of Sai Baba, but it can be approximately determined by his stay in Shirdi. Baba first came to Shirdi when he was a young lad of 16 and stayed there for 3 years. Then all of a sudden he disappeared for some time. After some time he reappeared in the Nizam state near Aurangabad and again came to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patel when he was about 20 years old. Hence he stayed in Shirdi for an unbroken period of 60 years, after which Baba took his Mahasamadhi in the year 1918. From this we can say that the year of Baba's birth is approximately 1838 AD. Baba's mission and advice. Saint Ramdas flourished in the 17th century and fulfilled to a great extent his mission of protecting cows and Brahmins against the Yagnas, that Mohammedans. But within 2 centuries after him, the split between the two communities, Hindus and Mohammedans, widened up and Sai Baba came to bridge that gulf. His constant advice to all was to his effect. Ram, the god of the Hindus, and Rahim, the god of the Mohammedans, were one and the same. There was not the slightest difference between them then. Why should their devotees fall out and quarrel among themselves? You ignorant folk, join hands and bring both the communities together. Act sanely, and thus you will gain your object of national unity. It is not good to dispute or argue, so don't argue, don't emulate others. Otherwise, always consider your interest and welfare. The God will protect you. Yoga, sacrifice, penance, and knowledge are the means to attain God. If you do not succeed in His by any means, in vain is your birth. If anyone does any evil unto you, do not retaliate. If you can do anything, do some good unto others. This is short but Sai Baba's advice to all, and this will stand us in good stead both in material and spiritual matters. Sai Baba as Sadguru. There are many so-called gurus who go about from house to house with cymbals and veena in their hands and make a show of their spirituality. They blow mantras into the ears of their disciples and extract money from them. They profess to teach piety and religion to their disciples, but are themselves impious and irreligious. Sai Baba never thought of making the least show of his worth piety. He had no body consciousness, but he had great love for his disciples. There are two kinds of gurus, niyat appointed or fixed, and anniyat unappointed or general. The latter, by their advice, develop the good qualities in us, purify our hearts, and set us on the path of salvation. But contact with the former dispels our sense of duality, sense of difference, and establishes us in unity by making us realize thou art that. There are various gurus imparting to us various kinds of worldly knowledge, but he who fixes us in nature and carries us beyond the ocean of worldly existence is the Sadguru. Sai Baba was such a guru. His greatness is indescribable. If anybody went to take his darshan, he, without being asked, would give every detail of his past, present, and future. He saw divinity in all beings. Friends and foes were alike to him. Disinterested and balanced, he obliged the evildoers as well as the pure. He was the same in prosperity and adversity. No doubt ever touched him. Though he acted through the body, he was not in the least attached to his body or house. Though he looked embodied, he was really unembodied, that is, the free from gross existence. Blessed are the people of Shirdi who worship Sai as their God. While eating, drinking, working in their backyards and fields, and doing various household works, they always remembered Sai and sang his glory. They knew no other God except Sai. What to talk of the sweetness of the love of the women of Shirdi? They were quite ignorant, but their pure love inspired them to compose poems or songs in their simple rustic language. Letters of learning they had none. Still one can discern real poetry in their simple song. It is not intelligence, but love that inspires real poetry as such. Real poetry is the manifestation of true love, and this can be seen and appreciated by intelligent listeners. Collection of these folk songs is desirable, and by Baba's wish some fortunate devotee may undertake the task of compiling and publishing these folk songs either in the Sai Leela magazine or separately in a book. Baba's humility. Lord or Bhagavan is said to have 6 qualities: fame, wealth, non-attachment, knowledge, grandeur, and liberty. Baba had all these in him. He incarnated in flesh for the sake of bhaktas. Wonderful was his grace and kindness, for he drew the devotees to him, or how else could one have known him? For the sake of his bhaktas, Baba spoke such words the goddess of speech could not utter. He is a specimen. Baba spoke very humbly as follows: Slave of slaves, I am your debtor. I am satisfied at your darshan. It is a great favor that I saw your feet. I am an insect in your excreta. I consider myself blessed thereby. What humility is this? Though outwardly Baba seemed to enjoy sense objects, he had not the least flavor in them, nor even the consciousness of enjoying them. Though he ate, he had no taste, and though he saw, He never felt any interest in what he saw. Regarding passion, he was as perfect as celibate as Hanuman. He was not attached to anything. He was pure consciousness, the resting place of desire, anger, envy, and other feelings. In short, he was disinterested, free, and perfect. A striking instance may be cited in illustration of this statement. Nanavali. There was in Shirdi a very quaint and queer fellow by name Nanavali. He looked to Baba's work and affairs. He once approached Baba, who was seated on his gadi, that is the seat, and asked him to get up as he wanted to occupy the same. Baba at once got up and left the seat which he had occupied. After sitting there a while, Nanavali got up and asked Baba to resume his seat. Then Baba sat down and Nanavali fell at his feet. Baba did not show the slightest displeasure in being dictated to or ousted. This Nanavali loved Baba so much that he breathed his last on the 13th day of Baba's Mahasamadhi. The easiest path, hearing the stories of the saints and being in their company. Though Sai Baba acted outwardly like an ordinary man, his action showed extraordinary wisdom and skill. Whatever he did was done for the good of his devotees. He never prescribed any asan, regulation of breathing, or any rites to his bhaktas, nor did he blow any mantra into their ears. He told them to leave off all cleverness and always remember Sai Sai. If you did that, he said, all your shackles would be removed and you would be free. Sitting through 5 sacrifices, chantings, eightfold yoga are possible for Brahmins only. They are of no use to the other classes. The function of the mind is to think. It cannot remain without thinking for a minute. If you give it a sense object, it will think about it. If you give it Guru, it will think about Guru. You have heard most attentively the grandeur of Sai. This is the natural remembrance of Sai. Hearing the stories of the saints is not so difficult as the other sadhanas mentioned above. They remove all fear of this sansar and take you on to the spiritual path. So listen to these stories, meditate on them and assimilate them. You may attend to your worldly duties, but give your mind to Sai and his stories, and then he is sure to bless you. This is the easiest path, but why do not all take to it? The reason is that without God's grace, we do not get the desire to listen to the stories of saints. With God's grace, everything is smooth and easy. Hearing the stories of the saints is, in a way, keeping their company. The importance of the company of the saints is very great. It removes our body consciousness and egoism, destroys completely the chain of our birth and death, cuts asunder all the knots of the mind and takes us to God, who is pure consciousness. It certainly increases our non-attachment to sense objects and makes us quite indifferent to pleasures and pain, and leads us onward to the spiritual path. And leads us onward on the spiritual path. If you have no other sadhana, such as uttering God's name, worship or devotion, etc., but if you take refuge in them wholeheartedly, they will carry you off safely across the ocean of worldly existence. It is for this reason that the saints manifest themselves in this world. Even sacred rivers such as the Ganges, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri, etc., which wash away the sins of the world, desire that the saints should come to them for a bath and purify them. Such is the grandeur of the saint. It is on account of the store of merit in past births that we have attained the feet of Sai Baba. We conclude this chapter with meditation on Sai's form. He, the graceful and handsome Sai, standing on the edge of the masjid and distributing budhi to each and every bhakta with a view to his welfare. He who thinks of the world as an illusion and who is ever engrossed in supreme bliss, before him we humbly prostrate ourselves. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram. Chapter 11. Sai as Sagun Brahma, Dr. Pandit's worship, Haji Siddiq Falke, control over the elements. Let us now in this chapter describe the manifested Sagun Brahma Sai as to how he was worshipped and how he controlled the elements. Sai as Sagun Brahma. There are two aspects of God or Brahma, the unmanifested and the manifested. The Nirgun is formless while the Sagun is with form. Though both denote the same Brahma, some prefer to worship the former, some the latter. As stated in the Gita, chapter 8, the worship of the latter is easy and preferable. As man has got a form, that is the body, senses, etc., it is natural and easy for him to worship the God with form. Our love and devotion do not develop unless the worship Sagun Brahma for a certain period of time, and as we advance, it leads us to the worship, that is a meditation of Nirgun Brahma. So let us start with Sagun Brahma. Image, altar, fire, light, sun, water, Brahma are the 7 objects of worship. But Sadguru is better than all these. Let us on this occasion bring to our mind the form of Sai, who was non-attachment incarnate and who was a resting place for his devotees. Our faith in his words is the asan, and a sankalpa, that is the determination to accomplish the puja, is the adornment of all our desires. Some say that Sai was a Bhagat Bhakta, devotee of the Lord. Others say he was a Mahabhagat, a great devotee. He was ever forgiving, never irritable, straight, soft, tolerant, and content beyond comparison. Though he looked embodied as having the form, he was really disembodied, emotionless, unattached, and internally free. The changes on his way to the sea cools and refreshes the creatures affected with heat, gives life to the crops and trees, and quenches the thirst of many. Similarly, saints like Sai, while they live their own, give solace and comfort to all. Lord Krishna has said that the saint is my soul, my living image. I am he, or he is my pure form. This indescribable Shakti or power of God, known as pure existence, knowledge and bliss, incarnated in the form of Sai in Shirdi. The Shruti Tantriya Upanishad describes Brahma as pure bliss. This we read or hear daily in the books, but the devout people experience this Brahma or bliss in Shirdi. Baba, the support of all, required no prop or asan from anybody. He used a piece of sackcloth for his seat, which was covered with a small mattress by his bhaktas and had a bolster placed by them rest as his back. Baba respected the feelings of his devotees and allowed them to worship him as they liked. Some waved chamar of fans before him, some played on musical instruments, some washed his hands and feet, some others applied scent and chandan, some gave betel nut with leaves, and some others offered naivedya. Though he looked like living in Shirdi, he was present everywhere. This all-pervasiveness of his was daily experienced by his devotees. Our humble prostration to this all-pervasive Sadguru. Dr. Pandit's worship. One Dr. Pandit, a friend of Tatya Sahib Nulkar, once came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. After saluting Baba, he sat in the masjid for some time. Baba asked him to go to Dadabad Kelkar. He went to Dadabad, by whom he was well received. Then Dadabad left his house for puja and Dr. Pandit accompanied him. Dadabad worshipped Baba. Nobody until then dared to apply sandal paste to Baba's forehead. Only Mahasapati used to apply it to his neck. But the simple-hearted Dr. Pandit took Dadabad's dish containing puja materials and taking sandal paste of it drew a tripan, that is the 3 horizontal lines on Baba's forehead. To the surprise of all, Baba kept silent, not uttering a single word. Then Dadabad that evening asked Baba, how is it that, though you object to the sandal paste being applied by others to your forehead, you allowed Dr. Pandit to do so? Baba replied that Dr. Pandit believed him to be the same as his Guru, Raghunath Maharaj of Dopeshwar, known as Kaka Purnik, and he applied to the paste to his forehead as he was doing to his Guru. Hence, he could not object. On inquiry, Dr. Pandit told Dadabhat that he took Baba as his Guru, Kaka Puranik, and realized him as the same. Hence, he marked the tripund on Baba's forehead as he did it on his Guru's. Though Baba allowed the devotee to worship him as they pleased, still sometimes he acted in a strange way. Sometimes he threw away the puja dish and was wrath incarnate. Then who could approach him? Sometimes he scolded the devotees, at times he looked softer than wax, a statue of peace and forgiveness. Though he seemed to shake with anger and his red eyes rolled down, still he was internally an ocean of affection and motherly love. He would call out his devotees and say that he never knew when he was ever angry with him. If it was possible that mothers could kick their children and the sea turn back the river, he too could neglect the devotees' welfare, that he, the slave of his devotees, always stood by them and responded to them whenever they called upon him, and that he always longed for their love. Haji Siddiq Falke. There was no knowing, so to when Baba would accept a devotee that depended on his will. Siddiq Falke's story is to the point. One Mohammedan gentleman by name Siddiq Falke of Kalyan, after making pilgrimage to Makkah and Medina, came to Shirdi. He lived in the Chavdi facing north and sat in the open courtyard of the masjid. For 9 months, Baba ignored him and did not allow him to step into the masjid. Falke felt disconsolate and did not know what to do. Somebody advised him not to be disappointed but to try to approach Baba through Shama, that is Madhavrao Deshpande, a close and intimate devotee of Baba. He told him that as they approached the Lord Shiva through his servant and devotee Nandi, so should Baba be approached through Shama. Falke liked the idea and implored Shama to intercede for him. Shama agreed and on a convenient occasion spoke to Baba about him thus: Baba, why don't you allow the old Haji to step into the masjid while so many persons freely come and go after taking your darshan? Why not bless him once? Baba replied, Shama, you are immature to understand things. If the fakir does not allow, what can I do? Without his grace, who will climb into the masjid? Well, go to him and ask him whether he will come to the narrow footpath near the Bharvi well. Shama went and returned with an affirmative answer. Again Baba said to Shama, asking whether he is willing to pay me the sum of rupees 40,000 in 4 installments. Shama went and returned with the answer that he was willing to pay even 40 lakhs. Again Baba said to Shama, we are going to cut a goat in the masjid, so ask him whether he would like to have its meat haunch or testicles of the goat. Shama returned with the answer that the Haji would be happy to receive a small crumb from Baba's Kolamba, that Samarpa. Hearing this, Baba got excited and with his hands threw away the earthen jars and Kolamba and straight away advanced to the Haji and lifting his kafni up in arms said, why do you brag and pose yourself as an old Haji? Do you read Quran like this? You are proud of your pilgrimage to Mecca, but you do not know me. Being thus scolded, the Haji was confounded. Baba then went back to his masjid, purchased a basket of mangoes and sent them to Haji. Then again Baba went to the Haji and taking out rupees 55 from his pocket, gave them in Haji's hand. Henceforth, Baba loved the Haji, invited him for meals, and the Haji therefore came into the masjid whenever he liked. Baba gave him at times some rupees, and thus the Haji was enrolled in Baba's darbar. Baba's control over the elements. We shall close this chapter after describing 2 incidents showing Baba's control over the elements. Once at evening time, there was a terrible storm at Shirdi. The sky was overcast with thick black clouds. Winds began to blow with great force, clouds roared and lightning began to flash, and rain started pouring in torrents. In a short time, the whole place was flooded with water. All creatures, birds, beasts and men got terribly frightened, and they all flocked to the masjid for shelter. There are many local devotees in Shirdi, but none of them came to their rescue. So they all prayed to Baba, their God, who was fond of their devotion, to intercede and quell the storm. Baba was much moved. He came out and standing at the edge of the masjid, addressed the storm in a loud and thunderous voice. Stop, stop your fury and be calm. In a few minutes the rain subsided, the wind ceased to blow and the storm came to a stop. Then the moon rose in the sky and people went back home well pleased. On another occasion, at noon, the fire in the dhuni began to burn brightly. Its flames were seen to be reaching the rafters above. The people who were sitting in the masjid did not know what to do. They dared not to ask Baba to pour water or do anything to quench the flames. But Baba soon came to realize what was happening. He took up his satka, the short stick, and dashed it against a pillar in front, saying, "Get down, be calm." At each stroke of the satka, the flames began to slow down, and in a few minutes the dhuni became calm and normal. This is our Sai, our incarnation of God. He will bless any man who will prostrate and surrender himself to him. He who will read the stories of this chapter daily with faith and devotion will soon be free from all calamities. Not only this, but always attached and devoted to Sai, he will get very soon God vision. All his desires will be fulfilled, and being ultimately desireless, he will attain the supreme Amen. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram. Chapter 12 Sai Leelas Experiences of Kaka Mahajani, Dhumal Pleader, Mrs. Nimonkar, Mule Shastri, a doctor. Now let us see in this chapter how devotees were received and treated by Baba. Saints' Mission. We have seen before that the purpose or object of divine incarnation is to protect the good and destroy the wicked. But the mission of the saints is quite different. To them, the good and the wicked are the same. First, they draw the evildoers and set them on the right path. They are the Agasti to destroy the Bhavasagar, the ocean of worldly existence, or the sun to destroy the darkness of ignorance. The God dwells in the saints. In fact, they are not different from Him. Our Sai is one of these who incarnated for the welfare of the devotees. Supreme in knowledge and surrounded with divine order, he loved all beings equally. He was unattached, foes and friends, kings and paupers, all were same to him. Here his Leelas for the sake of Bhaktas, he gave his talk of merits and was ever alert to help them. But the devotees could never approach them unless he meant to receive them. If their appointed time did not come, they did not remember Baba, and his Leelas could not reach their ears. Then, how could they think of seeing him? Some men desired to see Sai Baba, but they did not get any opportunity of taking his darshan till his Mahasamadhi. There are many such persons whose desire for Baba's darshan was not thus satisfied. If these persons believing in him, listening to his leelas, their quest for darshan will be to a great extent satisfied by the leelas. Even if some persons went there by sheer luck and took Baba's darshan, were they able to stay there longer? No. Nobody could go there of his own accord, and body could stay there longer if Baba did not wish so. They could stay there so long as Baba permitted them to stay and had to leave the place when asked to do so by him so. Everything depended on Baba's divine will. Kaka Mahajani. Once Kaka Mahajani went to Shirdi from Mumbai. He wanted to stay there for 1 week and enjoy the Gokulashtami festival. As soon as he took Baba's darshan, Baba asked him, "When are you returning home?" He was rather surprised at this question, but he had to give an answer. He said that he would go home when he ordered him to do so. Then Baba said, "Go tomorrow." Baba's word was law and had to be obeyed. Kaka Mahajani therefore left Shirdi. When he went to his office in Mumbai, he found his employer anxiously waiting for him. His Munim, that is the manager, suddenly fell ill, hence Kaka's presence was absolutely necessary. He had sent a letter to Kaka at Shirdi, which was redirected to him at Mumbai. Babu Sahib Dhumal. Now listen to another story. Once Babu Sahib Dhumal was going to Nepal for a case. On the way, he came to Shirdi, took Baba's darshan, and wanted to proceed to Nifat immediately. But Baba did not permit him to do so. He made him stay at Shirdi for a week or more. In the meanwhile, the magistrate at Nifat suffered intensely from pain in his abdomen and the case was adjourned. Mr. Dhumal was then allowed to go and attend to his case. It went on for some months and was tried by four magistrates. Ultimately, Mr. Dhumal won the case and his client was acquitted. Mrs. Nimonkar. Mr. Nana Saheb Nimonkar, Bathandar of Nimon and honorary magistrate, was staying at Shirdi with his wife. Mr. and Mrs. Nimonkar were spending most of their time in the masjid with Baba and serving him. It so happened that their son fell ill at Belapur, and the mother decided, with Baba's consent, to go to Belapur and see her son and other relatives and stay there for a few days. But Mr. Nana Sahib asked her to return the next day. The lady was in fix and did not know what to do, but her god's eye came to her help. While leaving Shirdi, she went to Baba, who was standing in front of Sateswada with Mr. Nana Sahib and others, and prostrated at his feet and asked his permission to go. Baba said to her, "Go, go quickly, be calm and unperturbed. Stay comfortably at Bhelapur for 4 days. See all your relatives and then return to Shirdi." How opportune were Baba's words! Mr. Nana Sahib's proposal was overruled by Baba's decree. Muley Shastri of Nasik. An Orthodox Agnihotri Brahmin of Nasik, Muley Shastri, who had studied the six Shastras and was well versed in astrology and palmistry, once came to Shirdi to see Mr. Babu Saheb Bhoti, the famous millionaire of Nagpur. After seeing him, he and others went to see Baba in the masjid. Baba bought various fruits and other things from vendors with his own money and distributed them to the people present in the masjid. Baba used to press the mango on all sides so skillfully that when Baba sucked it, he got all the pulp at once in his mouth and could throw away the seed. Plantains were peeled off by Baba and the pulp was distributed to the devotees, while the skins were retained by Baba for himself. Muley Shastri, as a palmist, wanted to examine Baba's palm and asked him to extend his hand. Baba ignored his request and gave 4 plantains to him. Then they all returned to the Vada, and Muley Shastri Bath wore fresh clothes and started his routine duties, that is, Agnihotri, etc. Then Baba, as usual, started for Lendi and said, "Take some geru, that is, a red berry substance used to dye clothes in saffron color. We shall today don saffron colored cloth." None understood what Baba meant. Then, after some time, when Baba returned and preparations for the noon arati were being made, Babu Sahib Jog asked Muley Shastri whether he could accompany him for the arati. He replied that he would see Baba in the afternoon. Baba sat on his seat, was worshipped by the devotees, and arati commenced. Then Baba said, "Get some dakshina from the new Nasik Brahmin." Bhuti himself went to the Vada to get the dakshina, and when he gave Baba's message to Muley Shastri, he was sorely perplexed. He thought in his mind that I am a pure Agnihotri Brahmin. Why should I pay dakshina? Baba may be a great saint. I am not his dependent. But since a great saint like Sai Baba was asking for dakshina through a millionaire like Bhuti, he could not refuse. So Sai Ram. Chapter 13. More Sai Leelas, Diseases Cured, Bhimaji Patel, Bala Shimpi, Bapu Saheb Poti, Alande Swami, Kaka Mahajani, Dattopant of Harda. The inscrutable power of Maya. Baba's words were always sharp, deep, full of meaning, effective, and well balanced. He was ever content and never cared for anything. He said, though I am a fakir, have no house or wife, and though leaving all care, I stay at one place, the inevitable Maya teases me often. Though I forgot myself, but she cannot forget me. This Maya, elusive power of the Lord, Sri Hari, harasses even Lord Brahma and others. Then, what to speak of a poor fakir like me? Those who take refuge in God will be freed from her clutches with His grace. In such terms, Baba spoke about the power of Maya. Lord Shri Krishna has said to Uddhava in the Bhagavad that the saints are his living forms, and see what Baba had done for the welfare of his devotees. Those who are fortunate and whose demerits have vanished, take to my worship. If you always say, Sai, Sai, I shall take you over the seven seas. Believe in these words and you will be certainly benefited. I do not need any paraphernalia of worship, either eightfold or 16-fold. I rest there where there is full devotion. Now read what Sai did for the welfare of those who surrendered themselves to him. Bhimaji Patel. One Bhimaji Patel of Narayangaon, Taluk Junnar, District Pune, suffered in the year 1909 from a severe and chronic chest disease, which ultimately developed into tuberculosis. He tried all sorts of Hathi's remedies but to no effect. Losing all hopes, he ultimately prayed to God, O Lord Narayan, help me now. It is well-known fact that when our circumstances are well, we do not remember God. But when calamities and adversities overtake us, we are reminded of Him. So Bhimaji now turned to God. It occurred to him that he should consult Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, a great devotee of Baba, in this respect. So he wrote to him a letter giving all details of his malady and asking for his opinion. In reply, Mr. Nana Sahib wrote to him that there was only one remedy left, that he was to take recourse to Baba's feet. Relying on me, Mr. Nana Sahib's advice, he made preparations for going to Shirdi. He was brought to Shirdi and taken to the masjid and placed before Baba. Mr. Nana Sahib and Shama were present there. Baba pointed out that the disease was due to the previous evil karma and was not disposed to interfere. But the patient cried out and despaired that he was helpless and sought refuge in him, as he was his last hope, and prayed for mercy. Baba's heart melted and he said, Stay, cast away your anxiety, your sufferings have come to an end. However, oppressed and troubled one may be, as soon as he steps in the masjid, he is on the pathway to happiness. The fakir here is very kind and he will cure the disease and protect all with love and kindness. The patient used to vomit blood every 5 minutes, but there was no vomiting in the presence of Baba. From the time Baba uttered the words of mercy, the malady took a favorable turn. Baba asked him to stay in Bhimabai's house, which was not a convenient and fit place, but Baba's order had to be obeyed. While he was staying there, Baba cured him by 2 dreams. In the first dream, he saw himself as a boy suffering the severe pain of a flogging, which he received for not reciting his poetry lesson before his classmaster. In the second dream, someone caused him intense pain by rolling a stone up and down over his chest. With the pain thus suffered in dream, his cure was complete, and he went home. He then often came to Shirdi, gratefully remembering what Baba did for him and prostrated before him. Baba also did not expect anything from devotees but remembrance, unswerving faith and devotion. Baba did not expect anything from devotees but remembrance, unswerving faith. Baba also did not expect anything from devotees but remembrance, unswerving faith and devotion. People in Maharashtra always celebrate Satyanarayan Puja in their homes every fortnight or month back. It was this Bhimaji Patel who started a new Sai Satyavrata Puja instead of Satyanarayana Vrata Puja in his house when he turned to his village. Balaganpat Shimpi. Another devotee of Baba by name Balaganpat Shimpi suffered much from a malignant type of malaria. He tried all sorts of medicines and decoctions, but in vain. The fever did not abate or chart, and so he ran to Shirdi and fell at Baba's feet. Baba gave him a strange recipe in this case as follows. Give a black dog some morsels of rice mixed with curd in front of the Lakshmi temple. Bala did not know how to execute this recipe, but no sooner he went home than he found rice and curd. After mixing them together, he brought the mixture near the Lakshmi temple, where he found the black dog waving its tail. He placed the curd and rice before the dog. The dog ate it, and strange to say, Bala got rid of his malaria. Bapu Saheb Bhuti. Shriman Bapu Saheb Bhuti suffered once from dysentery and vomiting. His cupboard was full of patent drugs and medicines, but none of them had any effect. Bapu Saheb got very weak on account of purgings and vomitings and therefore was not able to go to the masjid for Baba's darshan. Baba then sent for him and made him sit before him and said, "Now take care, you should not purge any more," and gestured with his index finger. The vomiting must also stop. Now look at the power of Baba's words. Both the maladies disappeared and Bhoti felt well. On another occasion, he had an attack of cholera and suffered from severe thirst. Dr. Pillai tried all sorts of remedies but could not give him no relief. Then he went to Baba and consulted him as to what to drink that would allay his thirst and cure the disease. Baba prescribed an infusion of almonds, walnuts, pistachios. Om Sai Ram. Chapter 14. Ratanji Wadia of Nanded, Saint Mauli Sahib, Dakshina. In the last chapter, we described how Baba's word and grace cured many incurable diseases. Now we shall describe how Baba blessed Mr. Ratanji Wadia and gave him an issue. The life of this saint is naturally sweet. His various doings, eating, walking, and his natural sayings are also sweet. His life is bliss incarnate. Sai gave bliss to his devotees as a means of remembrance. He gave them various stories of duty and action which ultimately led them to true religion. His object may be that people should live happily in this world, but they should be ever cautious and achieve the object of their life, that is self-realization. We get human body as a result of merits in past births, and it is worthwhile that, with its aid, we should attain devotion and liberation in this life. So, we should never be lazy, but always be on the alert to gain our goal of life. If you hear the Leelas of Sai daily, you will always see him. Day and night you will remember him in your mind. When you assimilate Sai in this way, your mind will lose its fickleness, and if you go on in this manner, it will finally be merged in pure consciousness. Ratanji of Nanded. Now let us come to the main story of this chapter. In Nanded, in the Nizam state, there lived a Parsi mill contractor and trader by name Ratanji Wadia. He had amassed a large amount of money and had acquired fields and lands. He had cattle, horses, and conveyance and was very prosperous. In all outward appearances, he looked very happy and contented, but inwardly he was not so. Providential dispensation is such that no one in this world is completely happy, and rich Ratanji was no exception to this. He was liberal and charitable, gave food and clothing to the poor, and helped all in various ways. The people took him to be a good and happy man, but Ratanji thought that himself miserable, as he had no issue, male or female, for a long time. Just as Kirtan, that is the singing glories of the Lord, without love or devotion, song without rhythmical accompaniments, Brahman without the sacred thread, proficiency in all arts without common sense, pilgrimage without repentance, and ornamentation without a necklace, or fertile and useless, so is a householder without an issue. Ratanji always brooded on this matter and said in his mind, "Would God be ever pleased to grant me a son?" He thus looked morose and did not relish his food. Day and night he was enveloped with anxiety so to whether he would ever be blessed with a son. He had a great regard for Dasaganu Maharaj. He saw him and opened his heart before him. Dasaganu advised him to go to Shirdi, take Baba's darshan, fall at his feet and seek his blessing and pray for an issue. Ratanji liked the idea and decided to go to Shirdi. After some days, he went to Shirdi, took Baba's darshan and fell at his feet. Then opening a basket, he took out a beautiful garland of flowers and placed it around Baba's neck and offered him a basket of fruits. With reverence, he then sat near Baba and prayed to him saying, "Many persons who find themselves in difficult situations come to you and you relieve them immediately. Hearing this, I have anxiously sought your feet. Please do not disappoint me." Sai Baba then asked him for dakshina of ₹5, which Ratanji intended to give, but added that he had already received ₹314 from him and that he should pay the balance only. Hearing this, Ratanji was rather puzzled. He could not make out as to what Baba meant. That was the first time he thought that he had come to Shirdi, and how was it that Baba said that he had earlier got ₹314 from him? He could not solve the riddle, but he sat at Baba's feet and gave the balance of the dakshina asked for, explained to Baba fully, so to why he came and sought his help, and prayed that Baba should bless him with a son. Baba was moved and told him not to worry, and that hence onward his bad days had ended. He then gave him Udi, placed his hand on his head and blessed him, saying that Allah would satisfy his heart's desire. Then after taking Baba's leave, Ratanji returned to Nanded and told Dasaganu everything that took place at Shirdi. He said that everything went on well there, that he got Baba's darshan and blessing with prasad, but there was one thing which he could not understand. Baba said to him that he had got ₹314 before. Please explain as to what Baba meant by this remark. He said to Dasaganu, I never went to Shirdi before, and how could I give him the sum to which Baba referred? To Dasaganu too it was a puzzle, and he thought much over it for a long time. Sometime afterwards it struck him that Ratanji had received some days ago a Mohammedan saint by name Mauli Sahib in his house and had spent some money for his reception. This Mauli Sahib was a well-known saint of Nanded and worked as a porter. When Ratanji decided to go to Shirdi, this Mauli Sahib turned up at Ratanji's house. Ratanji knew him and loved him, so he gave a small party in his honor. Dasaganu got from Ratanji the memo of expenses of this reception, and everybody were wonderstruck to see that the expenses amounted to exactly ₹314, nothing more, nothing less. They all came to know that Baba was omniscient, that though he lived in Shirdi, he knew what happened outside far away from Shirdi. In fact, he knew the past, present and future, and could identify himself with anybody. In this particular instance, how could he know the reception given to Mauli Sahib and the amount spent therefore unless he could identify himself with him and be one with him? Ratanji was satisfied with this explanation, and his faith in Baba was confirmed and increased. In due time he was